What if an entire civilization was struck by plagues so terrifying they brought the world's most powerful empire to its knees? Imagine rivers turning to blood, frogs covering the land, locusts devouring crops, and darkness so heavy it felt alive. These were not legends. These were real events, recorded in the book of Exodus. God's judgment unleashed on Egypt. The story of the 10 plagues is more than frogs, hail, and locusts. It's the story of God confronting human pride and rebellion. It is the story of justice colliding with arrogance, and liberation for a people who had cried out under slavery for generations. To understand the plagues, we must first understand the setting. Israel trapped under Pharaoh's rule, and a God determined to set them free. For hundreds of years, the Israelites lived in Egypt. What began as refuge in Joseph's time turned into chains under Pharaoh's harsh regime. Pharaoh saw their growing numbers as a threat, and he crushed them with forced labor and cruelty. But the Israelites cried out to God, and God raised up Moses to confront Pharaoh with a simple demand. "Let my people go." Pharaoh refused. His pride was immovable. And so began a series of judgments that would shatter Egypt's power. The first plague struck the Nile. Moses stretched out his staff, and its waters turned to blood. Fish died, the river stank, and the Egyptians searched desperately for clean water. Their lifeline had become death. Next came frogs, leaping into ovens, bedrooms, and even Pharaoh's palace. What they once worshipped as a symbol of fertility became a curse. When the frogs died, Pharaoh's heart only grew harder. Then dust became gnats, swarming man and beast alike. Next came flies, overwhelming the land. But here God made a distinction. The land of Goshen, where Israel lived, was untouched. The plagues were not random disasters. They were targeted acts of divine judgment. Next came death upon the livestock. Cows, horses, and sheep, all vital to Egypt's economy, fell dead. Then painful boils broke out on Egyptians and their animals. Even Pharaoh's magicians could not stand before Moses. God then warned of a hailstorm like none before. Thunder roared, hail and fire rained down, destroying crops and trees. Some Egyptians listened to God's warning and sheltered their servants. Those who ignored it suffered devastation. If hail had destroyed much, the locusts finished the job, devouring every green thing that remained. Pharaoh's officials begged him, "Let the people go before Egypt is ruined." But Pharaoh's pride held him captive. Then came darkness thick, oppressive, lasting 3 full days. Egyptians could not see each other or leave their homes. But in the dwellings of Israel there was light. God was separating his people, preparing for the final judgment. At last came the most devastating plague, the death of the firstborn. From Pharaoh's heir to the lowest servant's child, but God gave Israel a way of escape: the blood of a lamb on their doorposts. The angel of death passed over them. At midnight, wailing filled Egypt as every Egyptian household experienced loss. Pharaoh finally released the Israelites. The plagues were deliberate strikes against Egypt's gods, proving Yahweh alone is the true God. They remind us that resisting God leads to judgment, but trusting him brings salvation. Which plague do you think was the most terrifying?